some really interesting times at Georgia. They just lost to Florida, so you come out of that and you already got 2 losses, and it probably not going to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. And so the current mindset of many, many Georgia fans that I've heard from this week is Kirby Smart can't handle the quarterback position. He can't handle it. He can't develop them. He doesn't know how to cast a vision offensively. That, by and large, is the mentality. We're going to talk about Georgia in a little while on the mood tracker, too. And so Kirby Smart, unwilling to evolve, unwilling to do what it takes to put a championship caliber product on the field offensively. That, in not so many words, is what I've heard from a lot of you. So I'm just going to offer up a little counter as we frame this, with the backdrop being the JT Daniels potential for Saturday. Get to that momentarily. Here's the counter argument. What if Kirby Smart did evolve? What if he did press those buttons? Talked about Jim Harbaugh not doing that. Well, what if Kirby did it? And what if he just couldn't follow through on it? So I just want to ask one question. Okay, this is a devil's advocate argument. I'm not necessarily taking his side. I know you guys are in a little spat right now, so I'm not taking sides. I'm all for my viewers. I'm with you, come hell or high water. But let's just play devil's advocate. What if he did? Because I want to ask you one question. Just change one thing. What if what if Jamie Newman didn't leave Georgia? What if he didn't opt out? If that was the only thing I could go back in time and change, what if he didn't leave? What would the season look like? Because let me tell you what I think may have been in Kirby Smart's mind. If you're steadfast in your belief that it's your way or the highway, if you're unwilling to evolve, would you change coordinators? Would you go out and hit the transfer market hard for quarterbacks? I don't know that the answer is yes there. I certainly don't know that you would have made the change at coordinator if you were happy with what you were getting. Just give me Coley. Give me more James Coley. So he made the switch, okay? And he made the switch there, but then let's say you lose spring, which everyone did. I get that, but you were asking a much bigger change at Georgia than you would have been anywhere else. Like Alabama's already going to do their thing offensively because that's already what they were. You were asking Georgia to evolve and completely overhaul what they were. So you lose spring, and you're Kirby Smart, and you're sitting here watching, and maybe you still think, okay, but I still got a quarterback I believe in, still got an offense I believe in, got a championship caliber defense, got a good run game, got a good O-line, like I'll be able to lean on them if the worst were to happen. Okay, well then you get into the summer, and here comes the league schedule out, and here comes fall camp, and we go into fall camp, and then Jamie Newman opts out. So both prongs of that evolution plan, well, at least 2 of those prongs are now out. Your quarterback's out, and you lost spring, and so now what are we doing here? Like, what are we going to do? Are we still going to risk this, knowing what I have defensively, if I'm Kirby Smart? And we told you at the time, I remember doing this segment back in August when we were asking what's the identity of the Georgia offense going to be. Once Newman opted out, that night where we came on air, I was making 2 points. The first point was, where are all the haters? Because there were a lot of folks who hated on him for going to get JT Daniels. Remember, you're going to make the quarterback room too crowded. You're going to chase someone off. I don't know why. I don't know if that's why that Jamie Newman was chased off. But the second point that we made that night was, that's that. What I meant by that, I guess I didn't explain it well enough on that show, but what I meant when I said, well, that's that, was Georgia's reverting right back into their tortoise shell to what they have been. Because there's no way, given all the shifting right now and the lack of spring, there's no way Kirby Smart's about to look at the defense he has and look at the run game he thinks he'll have and say, you know what, let's wing it anyway offensively. He just wasn't going to do that. What would you have done differently, by the way? Let's say you were fully committed to making changes offensively, to be whatever you want Georgia to be offensively, but then you lost spring. And then your number 1 quarterback opted out, not in the summer, but in the middle of fall camp after you had already dedicated a lot of first-team practice reps to him. What would you have done? So I keep asking folks that. In my DMs, I keep asking a lot of you that. And I've got a lot of, well, I wouldn't start Stetson Bennett. Well, who would you have started? Who would it have been in his place? Because, by the way, Kirby Smart didn't start Stetson Bennett. If I need to take you back to week 1, they were looking for any reason to start someone other than Stetson Bennett. They knew his limitations. They started Dwan Mathis. It was a disaster. Couldn't even make it to the half. They were down 7-5 to Arkansas at the half. So then the second thing that you come back with, not all of you, just some of you have come back with, well, I would have had my quarterback room more settled. What does that mean? He had Jamie Newman there. Jamie Newman was sought after on the transfer market. A lot of schools would have loved to have had Jamie Newman. There is no magic 8 ball that you shake every time you have a guy on your roster and it tells you whether he's going to opt out or not. That's not part of anyone's plan. So you could say, well, you got to roll with the punches. That's why you recruit. Yeah, it is. But how many quarterback rooms out there are built to withstand that kind of blow, where you're going to take a decided number one, and despite what anyone tells you, that is exactly what Jamie Newman was, a decided front runner for that job. And you take him and he's gone. Scrap him. You're going to have to go with your backup. How many contenders out there are still contenders? You may find some anecdotal examples, but by and large, that completely crowbars the shin of your conference or national championship hopes most of the time. So then, the third and probably the most popular go-to for a lot of people when I'm asking what would you do different than Kirby Smart, a lot of you have said, I would have played JT Daniels by now. So I want to just harp on this for a second, because now we get to this week. Coming out of the Florida game, Jake Rowe and the guys over at Dogs 24/7 reporting it's back to the drawing board. JT Daniels has been taking first team reps at practice this week. I just, hot off the presses, got the latest from Jake. He took a majority of the first team reps today, he, of course, being JT Daniels. And so we ask ourselves, and this has been a hot topic of conversation in the 24/7 Sports Slack room. Someone Venmo me $10,000 and I'll give you a burner account so you can get in there. Make it 20,000. A lot of you are crazy. You'd probably go 10K. Everyone wants to know if this is going to happen and what it's going to look like. But let me go back, okay, because it hasn't happened yet. So a lot of you say, well, I would have played JT, and here's the follow-up. In some shape, form, or fashion, a lot of you guys always say, I would have played JT because it can't be worse. Yeah, it can. It can be a lot worse. It can be a whole lot worse. You see, you don't know what you don't know. I don't know what I don't know, and I don't know what you don't know, but I do know this. Number one, you got a guy running a program, and there's no one on planet Earth with more incentive to win for Georgia than Kirby Smart. Number two, the guy has forgotten more football than you and I will ever know in 10 lifetimes combined. Number three, he is intimately familiar with every aspect of his roster. Number four, there are all kinds of things, both tangible and intangible in nature, about players that go into making personnel decisions. It could be medical, it could be discipline, it could be mental. I'm not floating anything here. This is purely hypothetical. It applies to every player, JT Daniels included. There are reasons why guys are on the field and guys aren't on the field. And it doesn't always boil down to how many stars they had next to their name coming out of high school. And I work for 24/7 Sports, so I'm in the star business. But there's a lot more to it than that. Everyone on our rankings council would tell you there's a lot more to it than that. So you go back to that, and I ask, what is the insinuation? When you say, oh, I would have played JT Daniels by now, what you're insinuating is he's ready to play. Okay, I have flatly told you from everyone I've talked to at Georgia, he hasn't been ready to play. That's all I can go on. Okay, that's all folks have said there. And the sourcing has been pretty good on that. So the insinuation is JT Daniels, according to this mentality, has been ready to play. And for whatever reason, Kirby Smart has voluntarily kept the best option for Georgia to win on the bench. What sense would that ever make? What sense would it, and don't come back at me and say, it doesn't make sense, he's just an idiot. Now, be real, because idiots don't make it all that long in this game at this level. So let's just assume for a second that there is no impairment here, and Kirby Smart does understand what he's looking at the quarterback position. Do we really believe that? Do we really believe JT Daniels has just been ready the whole time, and Kirby said, I'm going to go with the guy that was four-string and we told wasn't going to play quarterback a month before the season anyway? I think that is the path I want to go. Has he looked thrilled at the quarterback situation at any point this year? I don't think so. I mean, if you haven't seen him on game day, I mean, he constantly has to pat those guys on the head and all but kiss them on the cheek because they're so rattled and they don't know where they're going. They don't really have a discernible identity offensively. Well, anyway, so now that I've gotten through all that, let's look forward to Saturday where, again, fingers crossed, hopefully we see a football game, and it is Georgia at Missouri. Is he going to start Saturday? Is JT Daniels really going to start? And if that happens, obviously there are a couple of different scenarios. Now, he could get in there and struggle, at which point it's I told you so mode, even though you're never going to hear it from Kirby Smart. But, of course, we all know there's something else in play. We also know that there's a path, maybe a narrow one, there's a path where JT Daniels is like 6 of 7 for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. Just comes out guns blazing. And I shudder to imagine what the Dogs 24/7 message board would be like, what my iJosh would be like. I'd need to have it on charge all day. What Twitter would be like. If that were to happen and they win a game convincingly and JT Daniels plays at easily as high a level as any quarterback you've seen at Georgia this year, it would be a win-win / lose-lose, I guess, because you would have won the game, you would have found your answer at quarterback for the rest of the year, but then you would have the post-game presser, where you would have to have Kirby Smart explain to you, was there something else in the works here? Like, did he just get cleared medically this week and we didn't know it? How in the world was he not already on the field? You know and I know it's coming if there's a legitimate performance from JT Daniels. So I'm going to watch along with the rest of you guys, and I will judge accordingly. So right now, I played the devil's advocate. That kind of coincides with how I actually feel, but my mind could be changed. It absolutely could be changed.